The Taylor Swift concert last night.
I'm Wayne County Treasurer Eric Sabri. There are payment plans available to help save your property. Visit our website at treasurer.waynecounty.com or email us at taxinfo@waynecounty.com for further information. We're here to help.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to another episode of The Week That Was. My name is Saeed Khan, and some of you are wondering, why are we starting earlier than we usually do? There's a simple explanation for that. Some of you might be trying to get in line for the Taylor Swift concert tonight, and so we wanted to be respectful about that because God, we knows the age demographic of our audience. But that is only one of so many major events that are happening today, and I know what you're thinking. Yes, I'm excited about it too. Dutch Girl Donuts is going to reopen, so yay on that. Yes, yes.
It is.
And also,
Big
I mean,
news.
I know some of you probably tuned in wondering if we were going to talk all hour about Pat Robertson's passing, but I think we can go ahead and wait on that. Let's go ahead and dig right into this, or jump right into this. We have a federal indictment for the first time in U.S. history of a former president, that being the people of the United States versus one Donald John Trump. And I believe the defendant in this case has already spoken about the indictment. Oh,
Yes, he
you know what I
has.
haven't done? Hold on. I haven't actually introduced anybody. I am so far ahead on my skis talking about Taylor and Pat and Dutch and Donald. We have joining us pollster Ed Sarpolus. We have attorney Joel Sklar. We have veteran journalist Nancy Derringer. And we have, of course, co-founder of Deadline Detroit, Allan Lengel, and a possible cameo by attorney Steve Fishman. But we'll have to see, because I don't know if you can handle all of these surprises and breaking news items. So let's go to the video.
Very sadly, we're a nation in decline, and yet they go after a popular president, a president that got more votes than any sitting president in the history of our country, by far, and did much better the second time in the election than the first. And they go after him on a boxes hoax, just like the Russia hoax and all of the others. This has been going on for 7 years. They can't stop because it's election interference at the highest level. There's never been anything like what's happened. I'm an innocent man. I'm an innocent person.
So
And
basically,
yeah, I
what
bet
he's
he
saying-
stole that painting too.
well, I mean, what's amazing is, I mean, he even threw himself under the bus. He said he even beat himself. The 2020 Trump beat 2016 Trump. That's just awesome.
But what's amazing, though, this is a sign of mental illness. He's talking to himself in third person again.
Yeah, that's
Like Seinfeld, Jimmy doesn't like.
either that
Jimmy's
or
going
being a star athlete. They like to do the third person thing too.
Yeah, because I know it's like George Weeks, the old columnist, used to do that. Bill Ballinger used to always talk in third person. I always find these interesting when people converse with themselves.
Bob Dole was famous for doing that too.
Bob Dole.
Bob Dole.
Jimmy likes Elaine.
All right, so where do we begin, and who wants to begin on this indictment?
Long
Well-
time coming, you know. I mean, it's the right guy at the right time. You know, I'm not surprised. I mean, this has been, forecasted for some time, and Trump's response, I think, is going to be his one-trick response, which is attack and denigrate,
And fundraise.
and fundraise. More importantly, most importantly, perhaps, and all the while make admissions of guilt along the way. And that's what's going to happen. He can't bridle himself. This is going to be a defendant. Usually you tell your clients, I mean, I do civil work. Steve would tell you, shut the hell up. Don't say anything. Zip it. This guy's not constitutionally capable of doing that. So he's going to be, it's going to be an interesting ride to see what comes out of this guy's mouth, because he is going to, he can't help himself, but incriminate himself. That's what he
Not
does.
being an attorney, I think the best thing that happened, the bulk of it's going to happen in Miami, Florida. Okay.
That was smart.
Because I've looked at all the politics of this. I've listened to everything. The Republicans were unprepared. Trump's attorneys were unprepared for what happened last night on the announcement. Okay. They're not ready for it. They weren't prepared for it. The Republicans were, the bottom line is you take away a lot of their arguments why this is a fake thing by moving it to Miami, because now you can't complain that it isn't. The people of your peers are going to judge you. I think that's the best thing that happened yesterday.
And there won't be any motions to transfer venue, right? That are going to be
That's
bogged
correct.
down by appeals. They're not going to do that. So you've taken, you sped the process up quite a bit by choosing a form that he can't object to.
And it's part of the rocket,
Rocket docket.
rocket docket that exists down there too. So, I mean, this is the best strategy I've seen by any Justice Department, and at least in my life, the fact that they planned this off the record, that no one knew was coming, and they had it set from the very beginning.
And
What
they're
is the
having it in a
rocket
red
docket?
state.
They
They're
speed
having
everything up. They speed things up by as
Oh,
much
okay.
as 6 months.
Okay.
Bottom line, what might take a year in DC could may take only 6 months in Miami, Florida.
I see. Okay.
I mean, Miami, Miami itself, I think, is a pretty strong Democratic stronghold there. But I mean, it's in a red state.
Doesn't
so-
matter. I mean, this really
Thank you.
should not have anything to do with politics. It's
Well, you can't say that when you indict a president.
Well,
There's
when
nothing
the
to do with
jurors
politics.
are sitting there, when you're selecting the jurors and when they're sitting, they're going to take it seriously. They're going to follow most
Right.
likely the laws instructed by the court. And these document cases aren't the most complex.
Mhm.
You had them. You shouldn't have had them. We asked for them back. You said, "Go fuck yourself." Well, now you got it. Now you're indicted. Essentially, is what we're looking at. And that's an easy fact pattern to understand.
yeah.
Well, one of the major defenses that he's apparently trying to say is that he has the right to do this. I mean, to declassify. And Allan, I think we were talking before, Nancy as well, that apparently CNN has obtained a transcript of a tape in which he allegedly admits that he did not declassify the documents, whether or not he could. Is that as smoky a gun as smoke needs?
It's pretty good stuff. It's pretty good stuff. I think the thing that kind of bothers me, and maybe Joel is a lawyer,
Well, still,
from what I remember covering federal courts, they unseal the indictments, and they don't necessarily have to, arraign the person that very day or whatever. But here it's like they're not unsealing the indictment. It gives the Trump people, all the crazies out there, and including Trump, the ability to knock down without knowledge of what's in there. I think they should just unseal it. And what's the big deal? I don't get it.
well, you'll
I
see.
Don't they have to
understand.
get a court approval on that though? They can't do it, but they have to get a court approval to actually do that. The DOJ cannot.
Yeah, but it's so I don't see any judge saying, well, why should we not do it? I mean, there's just I don't understand that point. But they must have some strategy. But it gives an opportunity for a lot of people to speak about the indictment without having any knowledge of it.
Well, is one possibility regarding the indictment that, given the subject matter, given the fact that, as some of the speculation is, that Trump may have involved other countries, perhaps their intelligence agencies, that unsealing the indictment might be a bit too delicate?
Well, it doesn't have to be a script now. Joe doesn't have to. They could do an unscript release, as they call it. They don't have to give a detailed release. It'd be like, what happened in New York. It doesn't have to be thorough. They just have to present the core reason for the indictment.
And sometimes they'll issue things with redactions. So if there's anything that's truly sensitive, it can be redacted. But the public's we're going to know what he's indicted for on Tuesday fully. And I think you're going to find there's a lot more smoking guns out there than that tape. I don't know what's going on. Nobody knows what's going on, but I have a feeling that there's going to be a whole bunch of stuff that's going to come out that's just going to be overwhelming. I mean,
Marjorie Green right now is talking about when are they going to indict Biden.
Right.
The Mark Meadows thing I think is really interesting. And what did he turn? What is his deal? There was, initially there was the rumor, I don't know if it's true or not, that he had immunity with Mark Meadows, I believe. And that turned out maybe not to be the case, but clearly he's cooperating. So I think he is going to be coming forth with a whole bunch of information, both for January 6th and for the documents.
I think the Trump attorneys they had to have turned on him because these guys aren't going to prison for that guy. And he lied to them. He
lies to everybody.
He manipulated them. I mean, I don't know why any attorney, and again, maybe Joel can answer why any attorney would take such a difficult client, except maybe money and fame. But that kind of fame,
All you
do
get
without.
though when you defend or when you work for Donald Trump is the fame part. You don't get any money.
Yeah, I don't think he pays the bills. But
question, though. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Please.
No, go ahead, Joel, please.
No. It's a fair question as to why an attorney would align himself with someone who's really has the Midas touch of death. For lawyers, you're going to lose your license. You're going to get scrutinized. You don't have a client you can control.
Haven't
which is
you?
an awful thing to have. And he's going to do things that are going to be awful, and he's going to throw you under the bus at the end of the day. So I don't know why the hell anybody would work for this guy.
You've heard. I think I said it on this show before that the joke among the legal community is that MAGA stands for Make Attorneys Get Attorneys. So
Right.
there we go. But he's every time, like when I watch that video that Allan just played, I find myself thunderstruck yet again that this man was the president of the United States. And I realized that he was, I know all the facts about, how he got there, but the fact that a good 30% of the, Republican Party or the electorate in general, the rump wing of the Republican Party still wants him to have that job just
It's crazy.
my brains out. I mean, I can't believe it.
Allan.
It's interesting. Alan Stam of Deadline Detroit, formerly, he posted a Eugene Robinson column, and Eugene Robinson writes, "Do not be joyful. It is sad for America. May the nation never again entrust such power and responsibility, such a small, craven, supremely unworthy man." I think it's
thank you, Mr. Obvious. I just
would it be fair to say that it's not just one craven man, but sort of the cabal around him that's propping him up? I mean, after all, Kevin McCarthy has come out with a statement, very much all in with Trump. You have, of course, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert playing deflection and possibly subjecting themselves to criminal liability for tweeting out that they have seen stuff in the skiff, other classified documents regarding the Hunter Biden case. Maybe everyone's hoping that Trump gets elected so that everyone can get pardoned.
Joel, one quick question. Yeah. I'm glad what you just say it is a fact. Is when would they start introducing the conspiracy partners with Trump? Because the fact that came out last night that there is more than just Trump going to be indicted. When would they bring in the co-conspirators? Because I think that gets back to what everybody's talking about. Why are they holding back a little bit? Because maybe they don't want to say who else they're going to indict him maybe the same day on Tuesday other than just Trump.
Yeah, I think on Tuesday you're going to see the other co-defendants be indicted. I think you'll see everything.
When he's accused of a conspiracy, it's got to be conspiring with others.
Conspiratorial.
But
even if they're not indicted.
Right,
because they could have immunity.
Right, they could be cooperating, they could have immunity, but there's got to be a multitude of people involved.
Go ahead.
What about the possibility that Trump's lawyers met with the special counsel's office earlier in the week, and maybe they requested that they not release the names of the co-conspirators so that Trump could have all the limelight over the next couple of days for himself?
Mm-hmm.
You know what? I have a question for Joel. To me, it's you hear it all the time where attorneys want to make one last stab at trying to derail an indictment. I think that's pretty common. To me, it's like for them to come in and give all the reasons why he shouldn't get indicted, to me, is a benefit to the prosecutors who say, okay, here's our defense. Thank you very much. Sei gesund, as we say in the old neighborhood.
My guess is the prosecutor said very little and listened very much. Is my guess, because when the Trump lawyers walked out of there, they were not happy. I don't understand why they had an insurance lawyer with him. There was a woman, I forgot her name, but part of his team didn't make any sense to me. He had a lawyer in that meeting who does insurance subrogation work for a living. So I'm not sure, it was bizarre to me, like the trio of lawyers that he had. He had, I think, two that had been in Washington for some time, but he had this statuesque blonde woman who is part of the meeting who has no experience in this whatsoever. And I'm thinking, is this a Trump thing? I'll have somebody attractive walk in with. I mean, I'm trying to think who orchestrated this to bring.
I would not put that past him.
Right, and Right. I mean, of course not. Something, I mean, it's just very Trumpian. And I looked at her credentials. No experience in this area at all civil subrogation work.
Well, wasn't Jenna Ellis doesn't have any, not Jenna Jenna Ellis. I don't think she had any experience in this
I
stuff.
have no idea.
He loves to have a hot babe on his arm. And,
well, the other thing that some of the other attorneys were saying that left Trump said is that it's like buying steak. You got the prime and you got the less than choice.
Yeah.
Trump is left to buying the less than choice brand of attorneys because he can't get anybody else to be loyal to him. So this might be the only one to be willing to work for him. Okay. One more quick question, Joel.
Do you find her in some storefront down in Palm Beach?
She apparently is in Miami, Fort Lauderdale, Florida, but in a civil practice. I'm thinking, what the,
it was next to her office next to the KFC.
That's the same thing. Now, Joel, one other thing with question, because of the potential co-conspiracies in this, would this allow their version of a RICO case to bring something back to DC if they wanted to? Because I'm thinking this is turning into their version of a RICO case.
I agree.
They can never lose Trump as part of the process, which means they get to bring it back to DC whenever they want to.
I think they can, and they may. I think that's one of the real interesting issues, because a lot of, the reason it's in the reason it's in Florida, this documents case, is that where the crime occurred. That's where the documents were. It's really the right place by statute to have this case heard. The matters that relate to the insurrection and to the obstruction that occurred in DC are all going to be, I think, in DC, and those are going to come down, I think, down the road. I don't think we're done yet, at all. I think Trump's going to be fighting on multiple fronts. He already is. Now he's got the New York case. He's got this case. He'll have other matters that are going to come toward him.
Yeah, Georgia's coming up in like a month.
Georgia, correct. And you wonder what's going to happen. I mean, the interesting aspect of this, and I'm going to go back to therapy days, is when you see somebody decompensate under incredible pressure. And I know we've seen Trump do this for years, but the pressure's increasing. And the reality of jail time, I don't care who you are, it's going to, and he's an anxious guy. He's not a guy who's, sitting and comfortable. We'll see how he decompensates, how he responds. He's going to become more desperate, and that's going to become more fascinating as part of his pathology, that he can do no wrong or the law doesn't touch him. When reality, the rubber hits the road, or this reality becomes irreconcilable, we're going to see a rapid decline, is my guess.
I think at some point he's going to have some judge who is going to say, sorry, Mr. Trump, you are a convicted criminal and you are going to serve time. No matter what his attorneys try to negotiate, because probably his attorneys won't negotiate any of the cases. They'll probably go to trial. But
they have to go to trial, I think, for him. I don't.
Yeah, and I'm waiting.
There's something they said yesterday that some part of their evidence could be obviously guilty, and they wouldn't even need a jury because it'll be this factually matter is breaking the law.
Right.
So there could be a court where how much are you going to put him away, and he'll be convicted just because of the facts them alone. They won't even need a panel of jurists to judge that. That's what happened with the Fox case, right? They agreed to something. This is already convicted, and what's the sense? How long is he going to be in jail?
It's
unlikely. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I've heard rumors that he may be trying to hire Saul Goodman from Better Call Saul.
Saul's good.
Who's really
Saul
good, man. Saul good.
Saul good, man.
Well, so there's 7 counts here. Each of them is a felony, and each of them carries a decent amount of prison time. So it's not as though the prosecutors have to convict him on all of them. Any number of them is fine. Is part of his strategy really now to stall, hope he gets elected, hope he gets in, and then really mess with the Constitution by pardoning himself?
Yeah, I think that would be a very Donald Trumpian thing to do. But the interesting part is going to be is before the trial or whatever that is, and now my guess is he's going to say so many incendiary things that a judge is going to say, stop it. There's certain things you can't say. There's things you can't. This is you're running for office. This is a really interesting aspect. But it'd be interesting to see if there was an order, some sort of gag order. You can't talk about these things. You can't attack these people. You just can't do it. It's disruptive. And if he can't abide by that, obviously. And will there be some sort of judicial remedy if he violates what he's going to end up violating, which are going to be these orders that say, hey, there's certain things you really can't go into. There's certain evidence you can't disclose, certain things you can't talk about. And so he may find himself in trouble way before the trial actually comes.
But Joel, do you think that, I mean, let's play this out. Let's say he gets slapped with a contempt charge. Let's say that he's even then put in jail for a few days. Doesn't that play into him and his whole idea about sitting in a loincloth, spinning? Oh, I'm sorry, that was Gandhi. But I mean, the whole idea about having the optics of that for his base.
It may, I mean, again, he's a persecuted victim, according to Trump. He's the world has never seen a victim quite like him in the history of all time. So certainly it will. But to the man who's in prison or being told, no, you can't do this, that's going to have an impact, right? This guy is visceral. He responds viscerally. And that's going to be, I think, the most fascinating aspect of what we're going to watch. Wow. His visceral response and deterioration is going to be incredible.
I mean, it's interesting. You see federal cases and I'm sure local cases as well, where somebody, I know a case where a doctor's office was raided by the FBI for he was giving out, charging, it was basically Medicare fraud. And so basically he was giving out prescriptions that he was charging more for and giving lesser drugs. And so he uses the money to hire very expensive attorneys, and he continues to do it after the raid. And
how am I supposed to pay these guys?
Yeah, right. And they catch him. They catch him again, and they say, "What are you doing? We just want to fine you. We don't want to send you to." And he does it again, and he ends up getting prison time. And that's Trump. Trump is like warned, hey, you're going to be in a lot of trouble. And he's like so sneaky. He's gotten away with everything for so long. But look, the force of, Kwame Kilpatrick learned, when the force of the federal government comes after you, and you've got reason to bring them on, you're a goner. Mm-hmm. And Trump doesn't get it. He still doesn't get it.
And the courtroom is super confining. There's certain things that are going to get in, certain evidence that won't come in. Well, there's procedure. It's a really confining area because the judge has control. He's going to keep control. Trump is going to butt that control and ram, head to head with it. He's going to hurt himself as he always does.
And obviously, this isn't just a legal case. I mean, this is also a case being fought out in the court of public opinion. There's an election coming on Tuesday, 3 p.m., as Trump has already notified the whole world, perhaps expecting that some of his minions will come down to the Miami courthouse and create a scene. Play this out. How is this going to work with not only his base, but really with the American electorate going forward?
Well, the first thing, I've been on the phone since yesterday evening, calls on this. The best thing that's going to happen in this whole thing is Biden and the White House keeping quiet. Don't saying a word. Yeah. Stay out of it, okay? From a Biden's perspective, everything going forward right now benefits Trump getting elected and eliminating DeSantis and the other candidates. And at the same time, we've learned that the mayor of Miami is going to run as president. We'll be taking on DeSantis in his home state. So right now, this is all about Trump and the primary. This does not benefit Trump in the general election. And actually Biden's glad this is happening from a perspective of his reelection, not from a constitutional point of view, but this only benefits Trump from his base to get elected, but it benefits Biden for the general.
So the rumor that last night in the Pence household, Pence is alleged to have said in the bedroom, "Brace yourself, mother, here it comes." That's not true. I really need better sources.
Yeah.
I'll say I'm in Washington, and last night I was with a group of friends, and the champagne came out when the indictments happened. There was there were all a bunch of people in the kitchen watching, and it's a good place to be during a Trump indictment.
They have TVs in their kitchens in Washington.
Yes, yeah, everywhere, every room.
Every room has a TV.
With CNN, MSNBC playing.
Just like the White House during the Trump administration.
Well, that's the reason I like going to D.C. because a lot of the hotel rooms, bathrooms have TVs in it.
Yeah. You don't want to miss anything.
Yeah, because sitting there on the throne with holding a phone and watching TV would be wrong.
That's a lot of bull.
I remember back in the late 80s, I went to St. Louis for a story for the Detroit News. And I stayed at, I think it was the Hyatt or something in the train station. And I was sitting in the bathroom and there's a phone right next to the toilet. I'm like calling friends. Hey, what's going on? Hey, I'm in the bathroom.
I've done interviews on radio and TV from such places.
I'm so glad for Larry Craig's sake they don't have that at the Minneapolis airport. But
Yeah.
So part of what perhaps explains Speaker of the House Kevin McCarthy's full-throated support for Trump last night is it seems as though he's having a little bit of a wobble within his own caucus. Just this week, in fact, it seems like some conservative lawmakers revolted against the leadership over a bill regarding gas stove regulation. Talk about spite. Going ahead and sending a message to people because they prefer convection ovens. I don't know. What does this say? What does this say about the Republican Party that this is how cynical things have to be? It is so delicate of a balance within the House that Kevin McCarthy has to then continuously placate, if he can, the far right wing of the party.
Well, the far right wing has finally got to the point. The fact is that they believe that this is their time. Okay, they're going to take down McCarthy any way they can. But the same token, it benefits Biden again because now McCarthy has to cut deals every day with the Democratic side of the aisle. As a matter of fact, the moderate Republicans said they're going to start joining the Democrats on some of their legislation. So bottom line for McCarthy, he basically has to decide which party he's going to be in to get anything bills through Congress. But the conservatives are basically saying, this is our time. We're going to make it our time. Unless you follow what we're doing, we're not going anywhere.
Nancy.
I just want in the spirit of keeping of always finding the funny side of every story. And every story has a funny side somewhere in there. I have to read one paragraph from this Dana Milbank column today about this very issue. And he was talking about Democratic Representative Jared Moskowitz of Florida, who gave the bills the ridicule they deserved, offering the Rules Committee several amendments because I don't think the bills go far enough. He proposed renaming the bill the Appliance Bill of Rights and creating a stainless steel 6-burner double oven in Statuary Hall to give gas stoves the honor that they deserve. So that kind of tells you where the Republican, generally speaking, I was doing a story months ago, maybe a couple of years ago, and learned that one of the subjects of it was a 6-figure financial supporter of Steve Scalise. And Steve Scalise is in this cadre of lunatics. And I think that's become the Steve Scalise rule for me. It's like, gave money to Steve Scalise, you are crazy. So there.
Well, Nancy, to follow up with you, we just discovered, and this has been reported, and Gates is from a thing. He now wears non-binary clothes. I freaked out yesterday reading the fact that he now admits that he now wears non-binary clothes from Colors and Stripes. I freaked out that was reported yesterday.
Non-binary clothes, right? Well, I don't know. This is, like you said, this is their time, but they're making fools of themselves. And, again, thousands of people voted for these lunatics and say, that's my guy, that's my lady. I mean, that's my representative. And it makes me really honestly think about that I should spend my golden years someplace like Portugal,
But I will guarantee the fact, because of what's going on, is what forced the vote by 2 Republicans to support the overturning of Alabama congressional districts.
Oh, look, yeah, that's right.
I have to believe that all of this has forced the Republicans, 2 of them, saying, I don't want to be tied to, we're getting all blasted as Supreme Court. That's why those votes came out, because of all this happening, forced Roberts and Kavanaugh's hand to vote with the Democrats.
Right.
So that's a good point there, Ed. I mean, I'm glad that you raised it. So Meryl versus Milligan was decided, and here you have a 5-4 decision. I mean, on the one hand, we can go ahead and celebrate the fact that the Voting Rights Act hasn't been completely gutted, but at a razor-thin majority. And luckily, friend of Squee voted on the right side of this. But it also goes to gerrymandering as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
So is it possible then that we can see, even if it's very subtle, some kind of chipping away at the kind of gerrymandering, which has then led to people being in very safe seats, people like Matt Gaetz, Marjorie Taylor Greene, and others?
That will take time. That could take a decade, but would also bring close to home. Because of that decision yesterday, the black community here in Michigan might be replying their case against the Democratic Party and the consensus districting here in Michigan for the state Senate seats. So,
okay.
So that's a possibility how it might impact Michigan quite quickly, is refiling of their case to the Supreme Court.
Huh. Interesting.
Well, Nancy, you were saying that you want to spend your golden years someplace else, maybe Portugal, maybe Iceland. I heard they have good museums. It looks like our very own Governor Gretchen Whitmer has launched a PAC for potential future federal office elections. So you might be able to do a Thelma and Louise with her, driving out of the state and going somewhere.
I seriously doubt it. And the fact that Gretchen Whitmer is a ambitious woman who's always looking down the road for her next gig should not surprise a single person. I mean, she's considered a rising star in the party. I think she'd be a fool if she didn't have a PAC that would look into this sort of thing. So I'm not surprised.
What do you think is her next race then, Nancy?
Well, that's a good question, and I don't know. I mean, she may be waiting for 2028. 2028. Yes. I mean, I think that's, Biden. I mean, she won't cross Biden in the presidential, and she certainly won't angle for a spot on the Veep ticket because he's committed to Kamala Harris. But, she may well do that. I mean, she's already said she's not going to run for Debbie Stabenow's seat. And I don't think anything else would be what she considers in her wheelhouse. I mean, I think she wants the big chair. So that would be my guess. But keep in mind, I am absolutely not a prognosticator on this thing. Ed is much more the source for this sort of thing.
Well, the bottom line is the fact she's also has to assume that the clout that she built through her dad's wealth and connections will still be there by 2028, because she'll be out at 2 years to run in 28. She can't run for governor and in between. So she questions how does she keep herself active? Remember, most of her future, since my experience with that, she's never had a tough race in her life. It's all been given to her. She's never had a competitor. And a lot of that was because of her dad. Nothing against her dad. His dad built a wealth and connections. The question would be, what happens between 26 and 28? Continue that movement to move to run president. That's going to be her issue.
That's going to be a good point. And she may well be looking for a cabinet position. I don't know.
Like another Jennifer Granholm.
Yeah, exactly. So
I think she definitely has presidential aspirations. And I think she struggled for a while with deciding whether she should fulfill her first term or try to run for president. And I think the message to her was, you can't be a Sarah Palin, give up, the governorship after 2 years. And I think she'll fulfill this. And she clearly, she'll land right at the right time. Her term is up when?
Basically in 26.
26. So it's perfect. I mean, it gives you 2 years to run for president, or at least explore and then probably pursue
what's
it.
happening.
Well, 26.
Yes.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, it's basically she's in the same position John Engler was. He wanted to run, but he was told no. Okay.
Yeah.
For president. And so the person she was told no this time around. Engler was a little bit funnier, Nancy, the fact because they did focus groups of just his facial appearance of Engler when he was going to run. They said no.
That predates my time in Michigan, so
I knew you were that young.
No.
Well, she'll leave office at the next midterms, which means that her possibilities are either getting a cabinet position for the last 2 years within,
or she could leave.
Biden gets reelected.
Yes, she could leave in 25 to take a cabinet post under Biden.
Yeah, or even a book tour. I mean, that's the other popular.
Maybe thing, a cabinet post under Trump.
Yeah.
Bipartisan.
or that, Allan.
Or that, yeah. That's always possible.
Well, she's an attorney, so she could actually help Trump.
I
she's
don't
rich.
know.
She doesn't need to be paid. So there.
The name Whitmer, though, Ed, doesn't carry the same irony as, say, the last name Trusty, which is the name of Trump's attorney. So, so there you go. So one of the counts under which Trump is being charged is, of course, the Espionage Act. And this week we had a rather notorious spy pass away, former FBI agent and Russia spy Robert Hanssen. Was alleged to have taken about $1.4 million in cash and diamonds to trade secrets with Moscow. Who knows? Maybe that's a fairly low rate compared to what is being passed along these days by others. So, Allan, I know that you had posted. I'm sorry, Nancy, you got your finger.
Well, I just want to say we can't just say he's a former spy. We also have to keep in mind that he was a Catholic, super Catholic lunatic and a sex perv too. So there.
Right. I think he was dating. Was it a topless dancer or something like that?
No, he was married. He was. I mean,
no, he was married, but he was also had affairs.
Yeah, they said
he had affairs going with.
They said he liked to go to strip clubs and try to convert the dancers to Catholicism. So
wow. Give them
a noble purpose.
That's exactly.
Noble, honorable endeavor.
He shared. He secretly taped his lovemaking with his wife Bonnie and shared it with friends and as well as photographs of her.
That's a spy.
Yeah.
That's
exactly.
Spy.
He was a total perv. So anyway, go ahead, Allan.
So, you mean Joel? You mean the time when I went there and I tried to convert them to the metric system that was out of bounds?
You were overshooting. Yeah.
He was indicted in 2001 before September 11th, and I was here, and it was such an embarrassment to the bureau. I mean, to him have gone, I think, for 15 years, was it?
Yeah.
To carry that out without them having any clue until near the end where they finally caught on. But it was probably one of the biggest. I mean, the Bureau has had some embarrassments. They had, I'm trying to remember his name, up in Boston with Whitey Bulger, an FBI agent who was basically complicit in a murder. So they've had
Sullivan. Was it Sullivan?
No,
I watched the movie.
I can't remember that. For some reason, I don't think it was Sullivan, but this was really, really a horrible embarrassment. And there were all these books that came out, including at least one guy from the Washington Post who wrote a book on it. But it's fascinating that he got away with it. I mean, just to know how to get away with it for 15 years is really incredible.
Wasn't it a very low tech spying operation? Like he would hide documents in parks, and then
he would have drops.
He had drops. Right, exactly. Yeah. I mean, it wasn't
that's what's so good about the movie, reenacting his life because of those props and how he set things up and how he got caught.
Right. Yeah.
That was really good. And
Actually, Nancy, the poles at the strip club were hollow. And so they were a perfect hiding place for documents.
I don't know if it's since him, but the FBI has a program, and I still think they have a program where every 5 years they go over people's finances to make sure that they're not deeply in debt and they could be vulnerable to spying or anything like that.
What did he use his money for? The Russian money
I'm trying to remember. I think on the women and I can't remember
tips.
What else.
Yeah, dollar bills, making it rain at the
$100 bills.
Yeah. Okay. Wow.
Just think about that. We have a similar case going on in Michigan. A Michigan corrections investigator has been operating a prostitution ring up in Brighton, Michigan. With ex-prostitutes. Yes.
Wow, Livingston County. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, but this is Department of Corrections. You get them out and you make them back to business.
Wow.
You're working for me now. You're working for Daddy.
The Full Employment Act.
Yeah.
Yes. Never get laid off.
Hey, Ed, does that explain why they had to redo that whole I-96 US 23 junction because of extra traffic there? I mean,
well, that's because the excessive ball marks.
Very good. So, shockingly, I mean, although some people might find this to be completely unrelated to what we've been talking about today, the fact that we have been talking about former President Trump some of his business dealings and the potential sharing of classified documents brings this into a different kind of specific relief. It looks like the PGA, the Professional Golfers Association of the United States, or at least of the world, I should say, and the LIV, the Saudi-funded golf league, the sort of renegade league, have merged, and now golf is owned by that country that has such a long tradition with golf, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia.
Unbelievable. I mean, just unbelievable. I mean, if you needed another reason not to watch golf on television, there you go. I mean, it's not only boring, it's also corrupt, and corrupt to its DNA. I mean, this is unreal, especially after all the time they spent posturing about how, you know, they were going to remain pure and everything else. Right. So,
well, the key thing
they got the sand traps.
What they have not admitted to the fact is that the PGA was financially going to go bankrupt. The Saudis caught them. They put together, the PGA had their own espionage unit to dig up dirt on the Saudis to do this whole anti-campaign against them. And they're being sued by the Saudis, which they could not afford the legal bills even to fight the case. So this was basically to save the PGA. The only saving grace of the fact is that the PGA still be run as a nonprofit with American people, but the overall firm will be owned by the live adults. And today, this morning, that the PGA said they're going to try to financially reward McIlroy and Tiger Woods for their loss of almost $500 million each.
That's crazy.
But I believe, Ed, that Congress is some Congress people are entertaining the idea of pulling the tax exempt status for the PGA.
I heard that too, but McConnell said the fact he doesn't know that the Congress has that ability yet. That's being investigated. They even have that right. I know I heard about it, but McConnell sort of put a poo-poo on it for a little bit. Not to say that he's against it, but he's not sure that they can do it.
And Tiger Woods apparently has formed or created another league called the TGL
with McIlroy.
With McIlroy, okay. So is that going to be merged in, or is that going to be?
No, because that's more dealing with technology. The technology of golf. It's going to be a unique type of tour with different things. Remember, McIlroy and Tiger, they want to increase the use of golf by everybody. I don't know if it'll be Tiger, but it's a sort of a unique type of golf, helping people get better at it and some technology. That's as far as I know. They haven't really explained what their long-term game is.
Wow.
Well, I mean, how's this going to play with Trump? Because of course he has some investment with LIV. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Are they going to keep the shotgun start? When I heard about that, when I don't know much about golf. I mean, I grew up in a golf.
The shotgun is like on a track race. They do have shotgun start to hit the bell or hit the shot that not tee off.
I thought the shotgun start was everybody starts on a different hole.
Correct. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That's what I thought. Oh, okay. Right. But I mean, that's like, the one thing you might have going for you in golf is that, you know, the Masters or some other big tournament that's being broadcast and everybody's down to the final hole. Right. You know, and so you get to watch Tiger and various other, you know, golfers, whoever they may be, you know, arrive on the last tee and you see this, Nancy, but now it's like you could be finishing on number 3. I don't get it.
Yeah. Well, the other thing you understand, Nancy, this is
like a country club.
This is a very profitable business. Okay.
Yeah.
This is a man thing. Okay. And the fact that I can tell you, as being a lobbyist part of my life and being business in my life, so much done on the golf course, around golf courses with the 19th hole, that golf is one of the largest fundraising for charities is through golf tournaments. So bottom line, the fact is this isn't going away.
I know.
I think because it's been embedded to ground. I mean, I've just been in business for such a long time. Golf is part of the act. It's a lot of a male thing, but and women golfers are starting to get very good too. Their league is starting to grow also. It's very good.
But Ed, culturally, how can a male thing like golf be compatible with an obviously feminist society like Saudi Arabia?
Well, you've got putters and balls. That's all I can say.
Okay, all right. You know, I mean, I'm just, I'm always worried about this idea about, you know, compatibility. I mean, when I go to France, I mean, they give me grief for not speaking French. I just want to know how this is going to play in Jeddah and Riyadh, and you know, when the tour ends up there.
Well, I will have to tell you this: is that the Saudis, remember, they're also involved in Formula One, F1 Cup thing.
Thoroughbred racing.
Thoroughbred racing. They own a lot of the horses. But you got to remember, if you go to some of the Arab countries now, they're loosening some things on the women thing. I'm not talking about Iran, but there is some loosening in the Arab community. Not to say that it's where it should be, but there's some change. And you got the other thing is that when you've talked to Saudis, because some of the work that I do with the Arab community here in Michigan, business owners, you got to understand the Arabs are smart. They're even smarter in some cases than China. They've got a 20-year plan to get out of the oil business, that they're not going to be dependent on oil. So some of this has to be with where they're going to make their money after oil. Matter of fact, they're looking how to have solar panels through a whole desert, and they're going to sell energy. Okay. And remember, some of the technology tells that you can shoot energy through the sky, like radiation. Okay. So you understand, this may seem kind of weird now, but their goal is they assume that sooner or later they'll be out of business on the oil industry. They have to look someplace else.
Well, I've seen with Saudi Arabia, I mean, to the point you made, Ed, I remember flying from Riyadh to Jeddah a couple of years ago and being blinded out of the right side of the plane because it was a big solar farm of panels. So they definitely are looking at diversifying, and they are diversifying in the area of travel and tourism.
Yes.
Saudi Arabia is not like the United Arab Emirates, but being over there, and you probably found the same thing speaking to people, that the Saudis want to sort of get up to speed like Dubai without being as crazy and as over the top as Dubai is, because in part the Saudis are saying, well, why should we go and have fun over there? We can just go ahead and have fun here, and being then a destination for that. So, but golf.
Somebody told me once there's only two ways to get into the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. You're either there to work or pray, right?
No, that's changed dramatically.
In
fact, they have
There's
revamped their
now?
visa system. Yes, and in fact, now they have made it a lot easier for you to visit. They have the e-visa system, and they really want people to come in for, as Ed said, I mean, sporting events. They are also having concerts. Apparently, the DJ Calvin Moore and Lionel Richie had a concert recently.
And women are allowed to drive now.
Women are driving.
A recent thing.
But out on the western coast of the country, especially in the Northwest, there are a lot of archaeologically significant sites. Al Ula, which is kind of like Petra, the Nabatean people. And then Mohammed bin Salman, the crown prince, is creating Neom, which is a $500 billion modern city. And then there's also some other resort areas which are potentially even going to allow for gambling and for drinking within those areas. It's almost like Sun City back in the days of South Africa.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like to me. Wow.
And you got to understand is like going back to the golf thing. One of the biggest things that started every March, golf is big in Japan. It's big in Asia. Okay.
Right.
So golf is worldwide. Well, like I said, some of this is a man thing and a business thing. But golf, from a unique business community thing, it's all over the place. Matter of fact, all my friends who were in the military, every military base has a golf course. If you've got any type of generals around,
they've ruined much of up north landscape with with bullshit golf courses. So
So I would be remiss not to go ahead. Actually, Allan, let me ask you the question: How's the air quality in Washington today?
I have not been out yet. Yesterday, I took a walk. I walked about a mile and a half with a mask on. It's not horrible. It's not like New York, but it's you can smell a little stinging. When you breathe in, there's a little bit of a weirdness here. I think it's supposed to improve after this morning.
So thanks to wildfires rampant in Canada, the air quality in places like New York and Detroit were even worse over the last few days than New Delhi, India, which routinely and consistently has some of the worst air quality in the world. I think today the air quality alert in Detroit expires at 12:15.
I'm looking at my phone right now, and it says it's at 107, which is considered unhealthy for sensitive groups. So asthmatics, COPD, sufferers,
people who cry at insurance commercials,
right? easily offended. People easily offended.
Yes, those sensitive people. Get a nebulizer on those who cry at commercials. Yes.
Well, one thing, people, just remember on June 25th, you're going to have Donald Trump in Oakland County for a fundraiser.
Oh, God. Oh, my
Who-
God.
Is it?
Oakland County Republican Party is having a featured speaker of Donald Trump on June 25th.
Right. Okay.
Oh,
And
no.
that we can make an allusion to air quality for that.
When all those Macomb County blue collar workers come over there and want to, I don't got $1,000 a plate.
And 5 days later, Ed, I think the law that Governor Whitmer just signed in, or the bill that she just signed into law, goes into effect. No more clutching your phone and driving. Distracted driving will be considered illegal. I think it's $100 fine the first time.
Yep.
Goes up from there, $250 if you're involved in an accident. So I think people are either going to get those suction cup things to put on their dashboard.
Are those still legal? Because I just got one of those. So
As long as
as long as you're not holding, right?
Yeah,
You're not-
I
I-
just put it in my hand.
You got to
Okay.
remember, you can plug if you bought a new car within the last 4 years, your car can actually meld your phone to the speakers of your car. And
I know. That's how I listen to music. So, you know.
Yep.
So I think actually
DC,
the law discriminates against people who like classic cars. But anyway,
DC has that law, and it was funny. I got pulled over one day, and I was on my phone, and cop pulls me over and he says, "You know why I stopped you?" And I said, "For being on the phone." He goes, "No, you ran a red light." I said, "Well, forget about the phone thing. I was just kidding."
Allan, a few years ago, I was in Los Angeles and I was on the phone, and I got pulled over by a cop on a bike. So it's definitely real. Well,
Go ahead. I would say that one thing about the law, and I'm telling you how it's in Detroit, the police are going to use it to do pretextual stops. I'm just telling you, it's another reason to stop people in neighborhoods that you want to focus on. Pull them over for either a real reason or non-existent reason and try to get access inside the car, get access to the phone. So I appreciate the law. God knows I violated it myself in the past. But anytime you have a law like this where the police have discretion and it's open to God knows what, it's going to be utilized to not help people, but to hurt people in a way. And it's going to be used more in cities of color than it is I think in the suburbs. It's just my guess.
Joel, I think what we're going to find is that people are going to go old school and they're going to get those big old style cell phones, and they're going to put all the yayo in that. So when the cops come, they're not going to be able to find this stuff. Allan, I think it's that time of the show.
All right, I'm going to do a quick commercial.
I'm Wayne County Treasurer Eric Sabri. There are payment plans available to help save your property. Visit our website at treasurer.waynecounty.com or email us at taxinfo@waynecounty.com for further information. We're here to help.
Means it's time.
Downtown Detroit, Robert Wells, Schmuck of the Week.
There we go. All right, Ed, who's your Schmuck of the Week?
Well,
And
I have to
it
say,
could be a Mimsa, it could be a Shonda, your choice.
well, I would say that we have to put to bed that the king and the emperor of schmucks is Donald Trump as of last night. Okay, he's definitely that. Okay. The smaller schmucks are all the Republican conservatives in the House who now vote against their party on legislation.
Okay.
Okay.
Fair enough.
That's succinct, to the point, timely. Okay. Joel.
This may be not appropriate for Schmuck of the Week that I don't know, but I'm upset with Putin for blowing up the dam in Kiev, the Kakova Dam, I believe it's called, or Kakovka. Just another a per se war crime when you blow up a dam like this. And I don't know if Schmuck may be too flippant.
It is a schmuck because now they're killing the people trying to get out of the damn water. Russians are killing people.
Really, to me, like it's just we're watching, just war crimes constantly, and this was just really deflating.
And if you listen,
I just can't imagine being down the river and these people. I just can't imagine.
If you listen to the hardcore conservative wing of the party, you'll learn that they believe Ukraine blew up their own dam, and that Uncle Vlad is being unfairly
vilified.
Yeah, vilified for that. So there.
I mean, to that point, Joel. I mean, there's also the threat to the nuclear reactors, which are under Russian occupation right now, and it could impact then the cooling chambers. So,
right,
who knows how catastrophic this could be.
The scorched earth policy that Putin has is it just the havoc that it wreaks, and when it leaves, it's like putting salt in the soil. You're trying to destroy these.
It's very
land.
Soviet. Yeah,
it is. It's
Mhm.
brutal. It's very medieval.
Mhm.
But this was just shocking. It wasn't shocking. It was just sad.
And they said the power station has 30 days of reservoir left of water,
Right.
and then they don't know what they're going to do.
Yeah. So we could have another Chernobyl. So, and they'll still blame it on the right wing. Will still blame it on the Ukrainians.
Crazy.
There. Yeah.
Nancy, who's your schmuck?
Oh, I usually have some backups because the schmucks tend to get picked if I go last. But I'm going with Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who is running for president on the Democratic ticket and is shockingly attracting a fair amount of high-profile support, including from that idiot Jack Dorsey, the man who founded Twitter, and a lot of Silicon Valley people who are, don't like Biden because he's old, and they don't like, mainstream Democrats because they're boring. And so they're throwing their lot in with RFK Jr., who has been relentless in spreading not only COVID misinformation and COVID vaccine information, but all vaccine misinformation. And, he was an early person who to claim that without any factual basis that standard childhood vaccines cause autism in children. And now he's got a great big platform, and I find it appalling.
And he says he's got a vendetta against the Democrats for what they did to his family.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
You mean putting his family into office?
Making them essentially a political dynasty?
Yeah, but that's one of his accusations, that he's got a vendetta against the Democratic family.
Yeah, well, there you go. So RFK Jr., Bobby's eldest son, I believe, you have disgraced your family's history, and you are my schmuck of the week. So
he's been disavowed by his own siblings at the same level as Paul Gosar, the Arizona congressman, who's considered to be
that's a
crazy.
good comparison. That's a good comparison. But he's also married to Cheryl Hines now, I believe, the woman who played Larry David's.
No, it's a Shonda.
I'm sure. Yes.
Yes, and I think even she is not down with this, but they're still married, so go down.
Oh my God!
Well, look, I mean, if she could abide by Larry David, then I think she can abide by Bobby K.
She's an
Jr.
actress,
Yeah,
he fits the part.
Yeah,
he fits the part. All right, Allan.
I am going to go with Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. I think the Saudis, Ed and you guys have pointed out,
Mohammed Bonesaw, we call him. So, yeah.
In fact, the money, they're proving that people don't give a shit about what horrible things they're doing. The Khashoggi, the Washington Post columnist, they killed him, and the U.S. has not properly responded to that. They're letting him slide, all about oil and stuff. There's a story today that if the U.S. was going to do something, take sanctions against them for cutting oil, that they were going to fuck up the U.S. economy and stuff like that. They put $250 million into Penske Media, which includes Rolling Stone magazine. Jay Penske, the son of Roger Penske, owns that, and there were pressure for him after Khashoggi to give back the money. He hasn't, $2 billion to Jared Kushner. They're buying, and people are turning their heads to what they're doing, and whatever links they may have had to 9/11. They're not a trustworthy ally of the U.S. and
they're cutting a deal with China also.
Right? They're so duplicitous and untrustworthy, and he is leading. The Crown Prince is leading all this bullshit. So.
And cozy with Russia because of setting oil production levels, and from that, oil prices. So
right.
You've got that. But if you are going to want to play golf anywhere in the world, you might just have his face on your golf ball. So there you go. All right. Well,
that'd be great. Khashoggi golf balls.
I was going to name for my schmuck of the week Mark Levin, the TV person and radio personality,
Oh, that guy.
just for seriously discombobulating yesterday on Fox News. I mean, it was spectacular, but I don't want to give him that much oxygen. So my schmuck of the week is Daniel Perry, the Marine veteran who put a homeless man, Jordan Neely, in a chokehold last month on a New York City subway after some disturbance in the carriage. Neely lost consciousness and died 11 days later. The coroner ruled his death to be a homicide. While currently charged with second-degree manslaughter, Perry claims the reason why he intervened is because he had a moral duty to act, because he internalized the message that he heard human rights activist and Holocaust survivor Elie Wiesel delivering at his school, high school. Perry is now 24 years old, so it was a few years ago. Perry said that one of the overall messages that Wiesel made was admonishing people that good people did nothing, thus allowing the Holocaust to occur. So Perry contends that, quote, "It is a lesson that I carry with me to this day," and that is why he decided to go ahead and choke a guy.
Blame it on the Jews. That's what I say.
They're usually responsible. Okay, yeah.
So there you go. Didn't Elie Wiesel get taken to the cleaners in the Madoff scandal?
He did.
Oh yeah, I heard he lost a ton. I mean, I met Elie Wiesel about 12 years ago, and you know, somehow the other, I didn't get that to then become a vigilante. And
he's
and
dead now, though, isn't he? Didn't he commit suicide a while back? Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, right. So.
Wiesel didn't commit suicide, did he?
I thought he was. I'll do it. Let me Google that for you.
I didn't think it was that. But yes, Daniel
couldn't
Perry,
get buried in a certain part of the cemetery that way.
It is a shot. It's look, you should have. Yeah, it's a bad thing.
For choking a man and then going ahead and invoking Elie Wiesel as being your affirmative defense, you're my schmuck of the week.
All right.
Any update on that, Nancy?
Hold on a second. I'm going to do it real fast while you
clear the record here.
We're not clear the record. Yes, we wait with bated breath. What was the outcome?
I'm not getting he pondered suicide and never wrote of or discussed his something. So there we go. His Holocaust experience until 10 years after the war. So no, he didn't. He's not a suicide. There was another one. Another famous Holocaust survivor who committed suicide.
It would seem kind of contrary.
Yeah.
I was going to say, it would seem kind of contrary that a guy
I take it back. I retract it.
Holocaust.
How dare
it's
you?
Like, bad enough. Bad enough for this crazy earth. Them damn Nazis.
Well, Abby Hoffman committed suicide.
But he was not a Holocaust survivor, though. So there you go.
So one of the craziest stories that I heard about Abby Hoffman, and I mean, God knows there are plenty, was that he was at Brandeis and he played on the tennis team, and his coach of the tennis team was none other than Bud Collins, the very colorful pants commentator for years on NBC on Breakfast at Wimbledon. So what a small world. But anyway, well, listen, thank you all for being on the week that was. Thank you, Ed Sarpolus.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joel Sklar. Thank you, Nancy Derringer. Thank you, Allan Lengel, with the last word.
Drive home safely.